everybody. So I guess I'm gonna wait around for a few people to join. If there's any problems with the sound quality, please message below and let me know. Hi, Diva. So this is like a 48.5-minute face, which is why I have no lashes on and my lips still look undefined. But no judgment, okay? Okay. Voila. Hi everybody. Hi Raven. Hi Celeste. Hi Diva. Hey. Can everyone hear me fine? Is the sound quality okay? Just let me know. So I was saying to Diva before that I kind of ran out of time, which is why I'm not wearing any lashes with this look right now. And I did this look in under an hour, roughly about maybe less than 50 minutes, so like 48.5 minutes. So, hey. It's not bad. Here's a close-up. Oh, look. Unfinished lines. Yeah. Hi, Tan. Alright, so should I wait a little bit longer for any more viewers? Hi, Celeste. Or should I start talking away? What would you like? Go on. Or maybe I should tell you a story while we get started. My performance career. How about that? Oh, just start? Okay, awesome. Alright, well, welcome along, guys. This is Chris O here in Geneva, Switzerland. This is my new base in the Northern Hemisphere. I am a South African, born and New Zealand raised performance artist of many, many years. 13 or 14, if I recall correctly. Oh my god, I'm old. And yeah, I recently relocated to Europe for the ability, potential, and I guess the opportunities to work as a full-time performer. This job was not available or viable in New Zealand, as it is a very small country, and I am loving it. Europe is such a great scene. There is so much to do and so much to see and so much to learn. And a lot of my aesthetic draws from the European background and history, so we'll get onto that a little bit more in the questions. So, hey. So there are a lot of questions, and a lot of it is about like makeup, rehearsal processes, my inspirations, and I haven't actually gone and like formalized any answers because I wanted it to be quite real and not as like, this is what I think it is. And actually just be a bit more honest and off the cuff. So, let's get started. Miss Trixie Blue added a few questions here, asking about how do I rehearse, how often, and is it studio or home-based, etc., etc. Well, rehearsals for me are a funny thing, and I guess it comes down to the ability when you're traveling to do what you can. A lot of my performances are quite rehearsed and quite choreographed, and those that aren't are generally quite performance scripted. So like if I'm improvising, I usually have a set points that are musical cues to tell me what I need to do, and then in my mind I have an idea of an emotion or a narrative that I am trying to tell to get me from point A to B throughout that script and cue. But for rehearsals, yeah, I do rehearse a lot. I generally always have my earphones in my head, and if the music comes on, I'm always pacing through it. It could be on the side of could be on the sidewalk on the way to the gym. It could be at the gym. It could be in the supermarket, and dare I say, it could be in the middle of a museum. And there are people who will attest to that too. I've embarrassed many a friend pulling out random routines at random as times. So, how often and when? All the time, everywhere. What is my favorite makeup product? Gosh, I have a few that I can't live without. One of them is this like cream palette thing. This is Eye Magic. I got this with AliExpress for like $9, and it is the bomb shizzle diggity goodness amazing. I cannot live without it. If I ever lost this, I would cry buckets. It is a cream color set, and I work in creams through my makeup process and then set everything with powders on top. So a good, vibrant, opaque cream that is really soft and blendable would be my ultimate go-to. A super awesome fine liner. I use the NYX vinyl with a super tight tip to really get like fine detailing. And then the next one would be, I guess, the NYX Ultimate Palette and Ben Nye Super White. All of these things combined makes for the most perfect face. Oh, of course, and Kryolan TV Paint 6 coverage. Yeah, these would be my basics for everything. Above and beyond that, good brushes, good sponges, and a beauty blender goes a long way too. But yeah, this thing, AliExpress, $9. Best $9 you'll ever spend, I guarantee it. If you had to go on stage without makeup or without a costume, which would I choose? Well, that's easy. I'd go without a costume. I mean, with makeup, I could probably paint on a costume and I could just wipe it off. I mean, that's a concept, and I think I've done that almost before. So, you know, you just kind of like wipe off the costume as you go, therefore negating the need. I'm just staring at your makeup. Aww. Thanks, guys. Like I said, I did this in like 50 minutes because I ran out of time. So this is a 50-minute face. It's not quite as perfect as I'd like it. The lips aren't quite there, but hey, that looks good. All right. So, what are your tips for making a face that lasts? Hey, check it out. All right. So, what you need is a super awesome primer. First and foremost, I use the NYX HD stuff. This is great, and like I said, I work in creams, and then I set everything down with a powder. And the powder that I use is the Ben Nye Super White or the Ben Nye Lush Pro powder. And once you've worked in creams and you set with powders, it pretty much doesn't budge. And then obviously a face sealer, so either the MAC sealer or I've got the Kryolan can that you spray on as well. Another trick, if you're worried about your face coming off and you sweat bucket loads like I do, and like it literally drips down your face, do not touch your face. Do not even dry the drips with a piece of paper, because if your face is hot and you're beginning to sweat, it means that the oils in your skin are coming up, which is going to lift the makeup. It would be better just to leave it and let it dry so the makeup sits back onto your face. Otherwise, if you press it with a piece of paper or blotting powder, you actually lift off the makeup because the oils will be underneath. So, pro tip from Chris O, do not touch your face if you're sweating. Let it dry. Hey. Oh, John, hey. Do you want to tag Yuri Declare in this video? I don't know. Should I? Who's it? Maybe. Is he watching? We'll see. Alright, so what would you like male-identified burlesque performers to know? What room do you see for men in burlesque, and how can producers best create a welcome environment for them as well as increase the number of men they book for their shows? Ooh, politics. So, I feel like burlesque as an art form has expanded beyond what it used to be and now includes every facet of gender, sexual orientation, etc., etc., etc. I believe it is a safe place for everyone and should not be for one or the other, but something that everyone can do. Of course, you need to make sure that everyone is safe and consent is always in these spaces, and there are ways that producers can always make sure that that is, you know, present at all times, and also that performers are aware that there are sort of codes of conducts. These things can be put through like your agreement and what do you call them? your what is it, contract. Hey, contracts. So I think when things are really clearly defined in contracts and in prior messages, etc., 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 then these are obviously ways that we can make sure that spaces are safe and that people feel safe and are able to do and be who they are. I don't believe it's any more or other like for like how can we increase the number of men that they book for their shows. I don't know. I guess that's up to producers. If there are more men applying, then book more men. I don't know. Like, I believe that people should be booked on merit and not sex or gender, if you know what I mean. So, I think if more men are into it, then get them going. I feel that's a very difficult question to answer, but I hope I've answered enough of it. Um, what would I like male identified burlesque performers to know? What would I like them to know? I would like them to know that, hey, this is art, this is fun, we should all have a great time. We should all learn to celebrate our bodies and encourage others to be in their own safe places and encourage others to be themselves. And I think that stage is an amazing place because it allows people to access facets of themselves that they don't otherwise access in their daily lives. So it gives them the opportunity to be someone that they're not, or it gives them the opportunity to, be something that they're not. And I think that because of this fact alone, that what we do is a very special thing. And I would like to encourage more men to be able to explore that about themselves, in the same way that the female identifying people in our community do, as the non-cisgender people in our community do. I think I would just like people to be themselves, be respectful, and yeah, have a great time. What if any particular styles, modes of dance are crucial to performance? Do you have favorites that you regularly incorporate? Thank you, Marguerite. So for me personally, I come from a performing arts background. I did a degree in performing arts, majoring in contemporary dance, and as part of that, I learned a lot of modern dance, contemporary dance, and ballet. For me, I guess if anybody's ever watched any of my shows, I think the ballet would probably be the standout thing that they notice about what I do. I try to pull from that training, the many years of training in that, to my performances because I feel it gives me a quality and an ability to stand apart. I don't know, there's always something quite mesmerizing about someone who's trained many years in what they do, and you can tell it that they live it. And for me, ballet gives me that embodiment. I feel so graceful and so, I guess, beautiful. Because I guess in like normal life, I'm just like frumpy old Chris in like casual clothes, and on stage, I feel like this amazing creature that I kind of like paint on and become. And ballet allows me to access that in my body and my performance. And I feel like any dance is beneficial to the burlesque art form. Just learning how to carry yourself with focus, with poise, with direction allows you to really expand upon your character and your narrative within performance, and it really gives you that edge that just makes you kind of like pop and sizzle and sparkle on stage. Do you have any favorites that you regularly... Yeah, well, ballet. What advice would you give to a seasoned performer that is universal to newbies in the industry? Rehearse your shit. Yeah, I think it just goes without saying that it doesn't matter how long you've been in the game. Keep practicing your craft, keep honing your skills, keep learning. And that goes for the newbies as well. Like, when you think you've done one rehearsal and too much, you haven't. Do 5 more. This way you'll always be prepared and you'll always know your music, and if something throws you, you'll always be able to find your way back. And there's nothing worse than looking at someone on stage when you know that they've really royally done something wrong because they just go, pass them in the headlights. yeah, it's not a good moment. And I feel like, when you've got that rehearsal under your belt, even if everything goes to shite, that you have the ability to pull back from wherever you've got something going on and you just keep going. What kinds of support do you like to see within the community? What is your favorite, or how do you most contribute? Example, attending shows, sponsoring performers and troops, providing education. Yeah, well, I guess that depends on your means and ability to support. Me personally, I like to see shows, I like to watch performers, and I love teaching. For me, as a way of giving back from the years of doing what I've been doing, is I love to teach what I've learned. I like to imbue my passion and the skill sets that I have accumulated over the years. And yeah, really just being there for people, I think. Like, as new burgeoning performers or newbies in the scene, sometimes you're so overwhelmed with the amount that there is out there, and sometimes it's really nice just to know that there is somebody you can just chat to. So like, I often have people calling me on Instagram going, hey, so how does this happen? What do you think? Can you look? What do you think? And it's really nice to have that dialogue with people. I mean, even if I don't know them, I think experience, transcends space. So, just being available to people, to chat, to just be human, I guess, is a great way of helping and supporting each other. And one more thing, I think compassion goes a long way. How do we support people in our community? By being compassionate. I've seen a lot of people kind of jumping on the call-out bandwagons lately, and I know this is a very political thing to say again, but I really, really feel like this is so harmful to people, and also this gives you so much like karmic debt as well. I feel like love people, be compassionate, try to understand their thought process. Instead of calling out, call in, message them privately and say, hey, I saw you do this, or I think you did this, please tell me what you think or feel, and let's have a conversation so that learning can occur. And instead of blaming, let's learn and teach together. So supporting the community, love, compassion, and just being human, Let's all celebrate this amazing lifetime we have, and we only have one of it that we know of, or live in the moment. So, love. What are you thinking before you fall asleep? What am I going to eat for breakfast in the morning? Probably. Would you rather teach a dance class or craft a costume? That's an evil question. I find those both equally as tantalizing. However, teaching a class gets me hot and sweaty, and the endorphin release is certainly real, so I'd go with teaching a class. What kinds of support do you like? Oh, already did that one. My bad. What upsets you the most? No go, never again, or not at all? I don't understand the question. I'm going to pass on that one. Would you marry me? Only if you ask nicely. Alright, what was your favorite event to perform at so far, and why? That's a really difficult question. I've been performing now for 13 years at many, many events across the world. That is really difficult to answer. I would have to say my favorite moment at an event would have been at Beehoff last year, just before my act started on the competition night for the Best of Boyless category. Johnny Porkpie was introducing me on the stage, and as he was saying, this man is from New Zealand, he blah blah blah, Chris O, and the whole audience for like a full minute before my music could start just started screaming out oh 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 and all the greatest orgasmic noises in the world, and it sent shivers up my spine and really just kind of like fortified me. It made me feel like, oh my god, I'm here, I'm in Vegas, I'm doing the thing in the world's biggest like burlesque competition ever. It was super, super incredible. Second to that would be the full standing ovation I got in Oslo last year, performing as the headliner for the Oslo Burlesque Festival. That was the first time I'd ever received a full standing ovation, and it was the craziest feeling in the world. Super, super awesome. What is the craziest dressing room you have ever had to use? A chair storage closet. At the World Body Painting Festival in 2017, I was performing for one of their gala nights. I think it was like the circus themed night, and they put me in the chair closet where they pack away all the chairs after the functions. And I was literally sitting in a space less than like a meter square with my makeup propped up against a little sill and in the dark, so I had to use my cell phone light to paint my face, this face, in 15 minutes again. It was so crazy. If you were a cocktail, what would you be? Oh, I'd have to be a gin and tonic. I don't know why, but I just like them so much, so I'd probably be that. Because I'm probably like 90% that anyway. Shh. Drink? What? No? Never. What does the future hold for Chris? I believe it holds many things. I would love to continue performing until the ripe old age of never dying. But furthermore, I think for me, I would like to restart my dance company that I had while I was in New Zealand and start creating works and potentially touring them or having them bought out and produced for major festivals or cruise ships or stuff like that. So that is in the interim, and then possibly post that, I don't know, maybe have a school for dance or performing arts. Who knows what the future holds. When you are in the UK, shall we do a Pink Panther shoot in Liverpool? If I'm in the UK and I'm in Liverpool, I will be in my pink spandex, and that will be a thing. Like, nothing's gonna hold me back from that. No, never. Not even the cold. Maybe the rain. But that's why they invented umbrellas. Alright. How do you get your point shoes to stay on your feet while performing? What would you recommend is the best to use? Alright, so my point shoes are custom made by Block, and I don't use ribbons because I feel they cut my ankles, and also because I find them a bit too feminine. I know, right? Me saying that. I have really chunky legs, so I like to really elongate the line, and I feel like when I wear ribbons, it kind of like cuts me off at the ankle and just makes the legs look really chunky. Whereas if I have flesh-colored elastics, that allows the illusion of a longer line and foot. And yes, I use flesh-colored elastics. One around the sort of arch of the foot to hold the two sides of the box together. And then I have a double loop that goes from the heel across the ankle and back to the heel again. So that way it double ensures that the point shoe stays on the heel. Yeah, I hope that answers that question. Yeah, so I use Block. I've never really used any other point shoe. I know that they have like specific kinds now, even made for men, but I've never actually used them. So when I do, I'll let you know if I prefer them. But for now, I recommend Block. What is your favorite city to perform in? I mean, that's a silly question, really. Every city is amazing to perform in. I think performing is a privilege, and really, I feel so lucky that I'm able to do so whenever I'm able to do so. So, what is your favorite city to perform in? Any city that will have me. That is the best city to perform in, really. No, we do take it for granted. Like I said, this stage is a sacred place, and as a performer, like, just to be on there, on that space, to be able to share your stories and interact with an audience and give and take energy is first of all, it's a gift. It's something that not many people get to experience, and when you've experienced it, and I guess all of you are because that's why you're here, it's a really special thing, and I think sometimes we take it too lightly and we get caught in the politics of performance, or we get caught in the performance aspect. But you've got to realize that this is like we're storytellers. We're continuing a tradition that is like older than time, or as old as time itself. Human connection and interaction, and even though we're taking our clothes off at the end of the day, you're still giving yourself to people in a context that allows them to go on a journey, and as a form of escapism, maybe even voyeurism, but it is a sacred place. And so yeah, I think we should all be really, really proud of ourselves that we're able to do that, but also kind of reconnect with that idea of it. How do you fit all your gorgeous costumes into suitcases when you travel? Very carefully. if you're like me and you travel quite often and your costumes are really, really bulky, you'll find that hardcover Samsonite suitcases are the bomb shizzle, because hard cases certainly help protect the costumes. I generally carry all my heavier beaded items in my carry-on. Because if I lost those, I would be distraught and probably, cry for hours and hours, if not days or weeks. But also because those are like the heaviest things, and very generally, if you can squeeze them into smaller carry-ons, they don't weigh them, and you can get away with putting more in your suitcase. Celeste, these questions are from you. Where do you get inspiration from your acts? Oh gosh. Okay, so here's a little thing you probably don't know about me. It's that my mind runs 100 miles per hour. I am constantly thinking, dreaming, daydreaming, just off on flights of fancy, if not kind of trying to figure out the nitty-gritties of things. So like Coca for a Coca and Bluebird, my two most traveled and award-winning acts that I have, actually started maybe 8 years ago, when I was in high school and I came across Yuri Kilian's Netherlands dance theatre works, Petit Mort, and it inspired me no end. And what he used was Baroque music, and Baroque aesthetic with a modern contemporary ballet, and I was spellbound. And he was so clever and so witty and so funny, and I was forever hooked on this period. And then after, I just fell in love with that whole Baroque and Rococo times, and just the excess and the costumes and all of it was just it's for me. I fall in love with times. I fall in love with feelings. I fall in love with, like, even just aesthetics and narratives, and like my Angels and Demons, which I've now redubbed Apollo and Python, came from watching a Vivaldi symphony at the Constantinum in Prague with the dancer Silitan, and I was just looking around the church, and there was this white marble sculpture with golden wings of, I think it's the Archangel Michael slaying the dragon, and I was like, that's a thing. And then my mind just started obsessing. It was like, how can I recreate this idea? How can I do it? And then my mind jumped to like the music. It has to be classical. And then my mind went, costume. It has to be like gold and shimmery. And then the whole act was born in one sitting. So, hi Indigo. And yeah, it's kind of crazy how it all happens. So I find them anywhere and everywhere. Something that just catches my eye for a moment. I'm hooked, and then I cannot get it out of my head until I put it into, I manifest into reality. I have to create it, I have to work it, I have to make it into a thing, or else I just can't get rest. Do you have any tips for flexibility training? Alright, so there are a few people who've asked this question. For flexibility training, drink lots of water. It certainly helps. It keeps the joints lubricated and the muscles ready to go. Keep your magnesium and potassium up, and then know your limits. I know this for a fact because when I started dance at the ripe old age of 22, that's when I first started dance, I couldn't even touch my toes. And I couldn't touch my toes right until the end of the 3 years of professional dance school training. And it wasn't until 2 years after that that I was finally able to sit in a split. So it does take time. But consistency and effort and listening to your body, I think, are the key things here. Know the difference between a good pain and a bad pain. Bad pain is muscles tearing, which is kind of like the opposite of stretching. Good pain is a lengthening within reason, and take your time. It can't happen overnight. Splits will not happen in a week. It may take 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, depending on your age, your flexibility, your diet, anything. Like, it really, there are so many factors into how flexibility works that it's just take your time, be consistent. Those are the two greatest tips I can give. Any plans to come in 2020 or 2021 to Europe? Well, I've moved here now. Unless something goes horrendously wrong in the near future, I hope I'm still around in 2021. Mr. John, are there any performers that you find inspirational? Yes, there are. So many, so many, but just so many across many genres as well. I am addicted to classical ballet, so I find a lot of inspiration from classical ballet dancers, especially of the Russian tradition, like Nureyev, or even more contemporary than him, Svetlana Sakharova. Like her line, her toes, her développé, it's just all too beautiful, and I can't deal. So yeah, lots of people I find fascinating. I find certain contemporary choreographers inspirational because of the work that they're able to create, and I'm just like, how did you make this amazing choreography? Like, what was your process? How did you break it down to dancers to be able to create this movement? So yeah, there are a lot of inspirations, and it's really hard to name them all in one going. But if ever you want to know anything particular, message me. I'll try and get back to you. Um, do you have any tips? Oh, wait, no, did that already. What are your favorite shows around the world? Gosh, well, I know an ongoing favorite is always Cirque du Soleil. I find myself very much aligned with their aesthetic and the way that they use aesthetics to create amazing shows. And I adore costuming and theatre, and I think they just do an amazing blend of all of that. Second to that, I really, really love Briefs. I don't know if you've seen Briefs. They're an Australian group. They travel a lot of the festival circuits, and yeah, they're just so witty and so clever and really accomplished in what they do. And I find them just awesome people. I've seen them a few times, hung out with them even more. So yeah, I feel that they're really amazing. What is your ultimate goal as a performer? I guess my ultimate goal would to be the diva of an amazing production that is all about Chris O. Well, maybe not all about me. I'd like to share the stage with amazing people as well. But yeah, my ultimate goal would to be able to be a burlesque performer, like 7 shows a week, to be able to, have a comfortable earning, buy a house, have some savings, put some away for the old age when I need to like cross the road with my Zimmer frame one day. And if I could do that as a performer in burlesque, I mean that would just be incredible. So working at it, we'll see. I'll watch this space. Ms. Raven, can you give me any tips on growing the glutes and getting the splits? Well, growing glutes. Do you want the easy answer or the hard answer? Because I say the easy answer is eat more chocolate. But that probably doesn't work best as well for the cholesterol, and possibly not great if anybody's at risk for diabetes. So, growing glutes, I would say step ups with knee kicks are really, really great in activating the glutes. Lunges, everybody hates them, but they really do lift. They just get it right up there. Squats, do lots of squats. And I would say that if you're waist training, get your little waist training belt on, stick it around, do your heavy squats, and hey, look at that, waist training and butts. 2 with 1 stone. As for splits, don't focus on the splits themselves. There are a whole lot of muscles that need to be lengthened and activated to be able to coordinate correctly to be able to get the splits. So what I mean by this is, stretch out your hip flexors for one, stretch out your quads, stretch out your hamstrings, stretch out your calves, and stretch out your feet. And before you do all of that, roll out your neck and back. Because the splits are not an isolated thing. There are a connection of muscle tissues all over. And a trick that they used to do for us in dance school was, if you want to get your leg higher, rub your neck just before the leg track and suddenly your legs go higher. The reason they say this is because if your neck muscles are tight, it kind of tenses up all the tensor muscles in the back, which then activates the glutes, which then really holds on instead of releasing, which allows the leg to then lift higher. So, yeah, there are lots of ways of doing it, and I'd say work all the muscles of the legs, not just the splits themselves. So, and don't forget that splits are not just a passive thing. If you want to be able to maintain splits and maintain splits safely, you also have to strengthen the muscles as well. So I would suggest doing little exercises like Pilates, where you strengthen all the adjacent muscles and innervate all the assisting muscles to be able to create strength that allows you to move into these movements safely. If you could travel anywhere in time, where would it be and why? Oh, this is so hard. There's so many times I'd love to go to. I've already mentioned it. I'd probably like to go to the court of Versailles, but they probably wouldn't let me in the door because I'd look like a hobo from like the streets begging for bread. But I would love to see or be at one of the grand parties that they would have had in the gardens. Just the sheer excess, and I want to see the fashions. Like, what was it like? It could just been so incredible. I would also like to be in the Weimar Republic in Berlin. You know, just the interwar period where cabaret, as we know it today, was like really at the forefront and born, and where gender fluidity became a thing, and people were like, fuck the patriarchy, let's do what we do, and women were like donning suits for the first time, and men were putting on clothes and parading and as female impersonators, and like this would have been such a crazy time. And it was just this feeling of abandonment because they realized that life was so precious, and the war was so atrocious that they had to remember the life they had within them, and so that they were crazy and wild, and they wanted to celebrate what they had when they still had it. So I think it would have just been incredible. Oh yeah, I can go on and on about the times and periods I would have liked to go on, but I'm just going to keep moving along. Who inspires you and why? Who inspires me and why? That's a really hard question. Can I be really cheesy with my answer in this one? I would say who inspires me? My mum inspires me. Growing into an adult and realizing the sacrifices that my parents made for my sister and myself as we grew up, and not knowing the hardships that they were enduring as like adults trying to find their way, and now that I'm the same age as them trying to make my own way, it's like they went through so much. And so like knowing that my mother held my family together a lot of the time, I really feel that she's inspirational for me. People who are pushing for their dreams, they inspire me. People who constantly keep pushing because they know that around the corner the next break might come or might exist, and you know, hell or high water, they're gonna fight for what they need and want in their lives, and you know, they're gonna make it happen, and those people inspire me. Yeah, there's no real like answer to that because I find a lot of things inspirational. So yeah, there's that. All right. What was the first boylesque act you ever made? Oh my, this is gonna be telling. So the first boylesque act that I ever made was actually while I was at dance school. The dean of Unitec, which is our university, caught wind of I was working as a go-go boy and a club host and an occasional part-time drag queen in my early 20s. And he was gay, and someone had recommended me to him because I was at the dance school, and he thought, well, hey, here's an opportunity to pay a dancer to make something for his, I think it was his 50th birthday. And he gave me this, he said, it needs to be something Mexican, something Frida Kahlo, something really irreligious and slightly blasphemous, which of course piqued my interest a lot. I mean, being paid to be naughty is, I mean, come on, who would turn up such an opportunity? And I created this sort of like Catholic priest and bare-breasted Virgin Mary act. I don't know if I want to talk about it because I don't know if people are gonna hate me for it, but I was young and I was in the zone, and I made this act where I came out as a priest doing the Eucharist blessing, and I had a cassock on with a cape, and the cassock only had a front, there was no back to it. And at some point, the Virgin Mary, whom I created this costume, so she was like the Virgin Guadalupe with the sun rays behind her all the way down to the floor, in her prayer pose, came alive and ripped the tunic of her front open so that her breasts were exposed, glitter breasts. And she then bent me over, pulled my cape off, and exposed my bare back. And consequently, because the cassock was tied around my neck, my front part as well, laid me flat and then served little chocolate penises off my back. And we called the audience up, or the party guests, to come take communion off my back. So that was my first ever boylesque performance, my first ever interactive performance, and my first paid performance. It was certainly very irreligious, very blasphemous, but super, super fun. And it was all meant with light heart, and there was a ex-priest in the party that night. He came up to me, and I think he was really upset with me, but he told me really well done on the fact that I'd at least researched everything that I'd done. And he said, at least you went and did it proper due diligence. If you were going to make fun of something, you did it right. So 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 I felt good about that. So I'm a little bit embarrassed that I said that now, but okay, it's out. It's there now. Everyone knows the story. What comes first to you? Look, story, or song? Well, I can honestly say that the song is probably the last thing that comes to me. The look and story, that's generally the two things that I naturally gravitate towards. I think very theatrically. So when I have an idea for something, the whole image comes to me all at once, like set on a stage, backdrops, lighting, costume, like tableaus, like a storybook of beginning to end, and I see different areas. How they all link up, I have no idea, and then it becomes the obsession of how do I make it all link up and what music fits to this, and it usually comes in time. An example of this is Bluebird. So Bluebird was a part of my Coca for a Coca show that I did for the Auckland Fringe Festival 3 years ago. And it was originally a scene where I was the chevalier to the king, and we were having like a love affair, and we did this pas de deux where I was on point, and he was dressed in black and very sadistic almost, and I was kind of cast aside, and then as this wilting bird wanting to be loved, I came out onto the stage with feather fans and two backup dancers and did this "Will You Still Love Me" thing, which was the origins of Bluebird. I then later superimposed a 1920s Follies kind of feel to it, like the Parisian vibe, with the costumes. Is it the Bergère Follies? Folies Bergère? Folies Bergère at the Pigalle. And that later is what inspired the feather tail and the corset. And then the music was not the music that I use today, and I got accepted into Vienna Boylesque Festival with it. And then I realized that I couldn't fit the fans in my suitcase, so I made the sleeves instead. And thought, well, I could use them as like a feather bower instead of feather fans. So that changed the act again. And then when I got to Vienna Pride, where I performed it for the first time, they changed from VBF. They decided to go with Coco instead of Bluebird. So I had the Bluebird there anyway. And they asked me to perform it for Vienna Pride. And when I sent my music to them, it didn't receive properly, so they couldn't play it. And we were literally backstage like 15 minutes before my show was supposed to start, and they're like, "Do you have any music?" And I was like, the only thing I have on my phone that I know well enough to be able to like potentially do something to was Lana Del Rey's Young and Beautiful. And so sent the music, they received it, it worked fine, and I went on stage knowing not what I was going to do, and created the performance that I now perform everywhere, like just on the spot. Luckily I knew the music well enough because I had been teaching fitness classes to it for like a year and a half beforehand, and had done at least 3 commercial dance shows to it. So knew what I needed to do with my costume, knew points in the music that I could use to create effect, and then, like I said, performance scripted it in my head 10 minutes before I went on, and then improvised it. And it was an instant success. People loved it and felt it, and I was just like, thank God. Scariest but rewarding moment. Scariest and most rewarding moment of my life. So yeah, it's kind of lucky. But even so, in saying that, that was 3 years ago. The costume has evolved. The dance routine has been more finessed and more choreographed. And all of my acts are in a constant state of change. I never rest on the laurels of anything because I always feel like it is your duty as a performer and as an artist to constantly push not just yourself but what you're able to deliver, and that it requires like constant finessing. It requires constant work. And I think that just relying on something that feels comfortable is not a safe place as a performer. You need to feel that you need to feel a little bit uncomfortable, maybe because you're giving more of your soul than you want people to experience, or like maybe you're allowing emotions to come forward that you're not comfortable sharing, or like, you know what I mean. It has to be something special, and if you're not feeling special, if you're not ever nervous before you go on a stage, what are you doing? You know? Like, why are you performing? It I think it is a very special place. And like I said, it has to constantly challenge you, and you constantly want to have to do more, be better. So all my acts, and even now, my Coco for a Coco act is also in change. Like, I've just sewn a new vest today. That was what I was doing today. Hey, vest. So, sewing, constantly changing the costumes, updating them, updating choreography, making them more, watching back and constantly critiquing myself to see if I can fill in the gaps and make things better and more enjoyable for the audience. Because at the end of the day, yes, it's my narrative, it's my show, but it's for your eyes, and you've got to enjoy it as much as I enjoy giving it to you. Yes? I think so. Well, that's what I feel. You have a range of talents: dance, costume, design, makeup skills. What do you feel is your most valuable one when it comes to making an act? That's a hard question. What is your most valuable one when it comes to making an act? I think my most valuable quality is my ability to conceptualize it. I think once you can make a really concrete idea in your head, the rest is really easy. It kind of just falls into place. So I think being able to visualize it in my head to the point where I can pick out specific details and create them, that would be my strongest concept. My strongest ability, I think. I'm a dreamer and a doer. Alright, finally, the last two questions. Oh wait, no, there were more. One more after that. Alright. What's your process for developing an act from idea to the first performance? Wow. So, my process, like I said, is usually visualizing. I sit and I daydream. I'll be at the gym, I'll be listening to music, and music really inspires me. So I listen to so many different kinds. Lots and lots of classical. I love modern sound scores for like movies, orchestral, symphonic, sometimes a little bit of uns. It really depends on my mood and the day. And yeah, just going around and being inspired. Like, this is why I love Europe though, because you can walk down the street in pretty much any country, in any town, in any city, and you'll find something that is beautiful and inspiring. Like, I'm in Geneva, and they have the most stunning little buildings around everywhere. Like, their school grounds, their school buildings are just the most insanely beautiful, like structures, and I think they're so gorgeous. And churches I find so inspiring because of the ornate iconography that they have placed everywhere to tell stories to people. And these things all sort of filter into my mind and create these flights of fancy. And once I have these flights of fancy, I like to write down the main and plot the main ideas of maybe the narrative or the look that I'm trying to achieve, or the feeling, how I want the audience to feel. Like, do I want them to feel sad? Do I want to feel anxious? Do I want them to feel happy? Do I want to feel, like, what am I trying to achieve? What is it that I'm trying to take? What is the journey that I want to take them on? And then from there, I like to start then bringing pieces together of the costume. I love to create costumes because the costume starts to build a character. And then at this point, once you have a costume, sometimes the character completely takes over. My recent Queen of Roses act was supposed to be a Firebird act. I wanted to do this lovely Firebird costume because I, in 2012, was a semi-finalist on New Zealand's Got Talent, Dancing on Point, and one of my performances was the Firebird. And so I wanted to do an homage to that by bringing that back into my repertoire. And yeah, so I had this idea for like an awesome bird costume, and then I was like, ooh, maybe the bird costume can be sort of like hybridized with this like Tudor doublet and, paneled pants type thing. And then I started creating the costume, and then I put on the costume, and then I made the color, and I was like, oh no, this is really red, I love it, maybe we should put on like roses. And then the roses took over, and I was like, oh, then it completely went a different direction, like absolutely somewhere else, but I was okay with it. And then, like I said, with the performance, I had scripted in my mind the music and what I wanted to achieve. So I had X amount of time to take off my clothes, X amount of time that I wanted the fans, and then of course the reveal. And I knew these points in the music when I wanted these things to happen. I would play around until I found comfortable patterns with my body and the point shoes and the costume, and then started rehearsing that. And when it goes to performance, I first performed it, and it wasn't until like maybe 4 or 5 performances later that I finally had like the this is what I need to do moment. And I sat in the hotel room an hour before the show choreographing the whole thing from scratch, taking out most of all the costume changes, because there were so many little different funny things, and I was like, nah, stuff it, we'll just get to all of it once. And then like finalized the way that I wanted to use the fans, and that was what I did, and I felt like nailed it. Now I've got the thing that I was hoping for. So like I said, it sometimes to first performance isn't always the final product. Like it was the 5th performance in that I finally found like I hit my stride with that particular act. But yeah, it's all performances are a progress. All right. So when you're going somewhere new, how do you tweak your acts for different audiences? I guess that depends on what sort of gig you're performing at. Generally performing at a burlesque gig, I don't adjust or tweak my performances much, ever. The one time I ever considered tweaking anything was when I went to Beehoff, because I knew that they had like modesty laws in some of the casinos, and I wasn't sure if my butthole was going to be okay, because a lot of my costumes don't have a G-string. It's kind of just tied on the front. Kind of little sock, glue, pray, hope for the best. So I was wondering, like, if I did a split or something, if my butthole would like wink at the audience, if I get in trouble about that. That was the only time I ever considered it, but it was like, yeah, if it happens, it happens. Hey. And so far, I've never really received any bad feedback or anything like that. I'm trying to think if there are any performances. No, I've never tweaked my performances. I guess I'm just one of those people, like, I am what I am, and I'm gonna give you what I am, and I feel like it's my art, and I am respectful if it is obviously put into pen and paper beforehand that there are certain limits to what I'm allowed to do. Then I might, I will then conform to that, but generally that's never been a thing. So Um, so yeah, never really tweak my audiences. How do I refuel? So yeah, no, I am a loving person, and I make it a point in my life, because I've been through some terrible times in my earlier years, that I don't ever want to be the reason that someone is upset, or I never want to be the reason that someone is angry or sad. I never want to create discord. My goal in life is to come with a smile and make sure that everyone leaves with a smile, because I feel like there are enough people in the world who are grumpy and not having the greatest times. And like I said, we need to be more human, we need to be more compassionate, and a part of that is just learning to live with each other. And I think a smile can do so much good in this world, and it costs us nothing to do it. So, how do I refuel? I refuel by spending time with friends. I feel like, yeah, I give a lot to people, but I receive so much back in return as well. And I think that's an amazing thing, because it's kind of this rapport that you build with people over time, and it is so loving and it is so kind, and when you give it so freely, people give it back to you, and I thrive off that. And so yeah, like gym. Oh wait, I can give you another answer there. So yeah, spending time with friends, but also like I have my three things in life that I need to have to be in a happy space. Number one, coffee. There is no life before coffee. One. Number two, I need a gym. Um, Physical fitness has played a huge role in my life in turning me around to who I am today. I was an obese teenager and suffered severely for it. And when I found out that I could do amazing things with my body, I wanted to make sure that I could continue to do amazing things with my body. And that's why I came to dance so late in my life, because beforehand I was never able to do it. I was never in the right space or physically able. So when I came to it in my 20s, I was like, yeah, I want to be able to make sure that I can do this for a very long time. And so that means that I need to look after myself. So gym, coffee. And the last one is eggs. I laugh because I do eat a ridiculous amount of eggs, and people are always very worried about my cholesterol, but every time I've been tested, it's been absolutely okay. And I think it's because I like the second one, gym. But yeah, as long as I know that I've got my diet down, my exercise down, and I've got my friends going around me, I know that I am able to like refuel myself and be happy. And when you're happy, you can make other people happy, and then everyone's happy, and this is the way we want to be, because happy is what we want to do, or be. We want to be happy. So, there was one more question. Something about a hot tub. I think Diva asked this question. What is your craziest hot tub story? I think you're dirty. She wants to know all the dirty stuff. So I have a few hot tub party stories. I have the one where I nearly drowned myself. I have the one in Vegas where I was doing naked splits across the tub. And what's the other one? It was recent. I can't remember it. I guess it's only those two. The one when I nearly drowned myself in naked splits. Hot tub party. So I challenged my friend to a hold your breath competition in a hot tub. True story. And I won. I did. But I also passed out underwater because I held my breath for so long. It was actually really frightening. Well, it wasn't for me. It was amazing. Like, I'm not afraid of dying anymore. I think I went to no, I didn't go to the outside, I'm joking. But I did pass out. And my friend pulled me out of the water and slapped me about a bit, and I woke up and it was fine. But apparently I'd gone grey and my lips were blue, and he almost, I think he was crying. Like a grown-ass man crying because he thought I'd died. But 4.5 minutes. That's how long I would put myself underwater for. Yes! Second crazy hot tub. Oh, wait, no. This hot tub story. This is the best one. So, in New Zealand, about 3.5 years ago, I was asked to headline a burlesque show in New Plymouth, and New Plymouth is such a great place. It is a bit off the beaten map and is great for like weekend aways at the beach, and they have the Mount Taranaki nearby, so great for hiking. But they don't get very many shows that come through there, so whenever they have a show, people go wild. And I was asked to headline a show there with a whole bunch of my burlesque friends that I recommended come with. And yeah, like I said, gin and tonic is my spirit of choice, my drink of choice, my cocktail of pleasure. And after the show, I was given a bottle of gin and a bottle of tonic and said, "Well done, good job, Chris." And I was like, "Yay, thank you, drink." And then we drank, and then we drank, and then we drank, and it was so much fun. And then everybody drank, and we were all drunk. And they got us an Airbnb just across from the venue, which is this lovely 2-story apartment with a super huge hot tub. And if anybody knows Chris O, they know that Chris O is a lightweight when it comes to alcohol. So 1 gin and tonic, Chris was already under the table. 2 gin and tonics, Chris was under everyone's table. It was a bad story. Oh, and the other thing that happens is I get naked the more drunk I get. So I got naked, and I climbed to the hot tub, and I found bubble bath, and we made a huge bubble bath, and I managed to coerce everybody else to get into the hot tub with me. And we all sat in the hot tub with our crowns, because I'd invited the New Zealand Royal Burlesque family. Anybody who'd won title of King or Queen or Duchess or Duke of the New Zealand Burlesque Festival were at the show with me. So we all sat in the hot tub with our crowns drinking. I think we swapped to champagne after the gin and tonics, and it was the craziest. We took videos. I shall not post them, so don't ask. But yeah, super fun time. And last year, when I was here in Switzerland on my way to the Swiss Burlesque Festival in Basel, I received a call whilst I was on the train, and it was my friends from New Zealand sitting in a bathtub with bubble bath, with the crowns, naked, all gathered together, calling me to see how I was and telling me that they missed me, and it was the most incredible moment, and I started crying because I was so happy. Yeah, so that's my hot tub party story. If anybody has any other questions, please feel free to maybe message them below. Otherwise, I think I will wait another 5 or so minutes and then log off. I think you've heard so much from me, and I've talked so much, and I don't even know what the time is anymore because there's no time written on my phone. Oh, we're already an hour and 10. So, if you have any more questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll just give you close-ups of my makeup. Yes, this is close-ups. Oh, sorry, my nose is really runny. I just showed you all my boogers. I don't even have a tissue nearby. Oh, I do. Excuse me for a second. Did it work? No, I just wiped with the makeup. Damn it! You can scroll to see if there are any questions. Ah, okay. You butthole winking. Amore. Refuel Molly. Everyone seems to like my eyes. Oh, thanks, guys. Is a question? You must wear a lot of makeup often. How do you keep your skin so smooth? It's an illusion. I can't show you. Maybe the camera. Actually, it does look pretty smooth. Okay, it's makeup. I think drinking lots of water really helps. I find that if I'm dehydrated, my skin seems to get really wrinkly and I get a lot of spots. But when I keep really well hydrated, it tends to smooth out quite a bit. Because I do wear a lot of makeup, I'm very kind of like fastidious on my skincare routine. So I do use like a toner and moisturizer. And like a couple of years ago, I started getting skin discoloration from sunburn. So I'm now trying to be really super cautious about using sunscreen when I go out. So it helps. And I think the skin with the makeup looks really smooth because of the primer. I think it has one of those like did I wipe the makeup off my nose? That's so embarrassing. It has one of those like no, what are those things that they use to like blot out the pores? I think there's some of that in the primer. Who are your favorite male burlesque performers? Oh gosh, who are my favorite male burlesque performers? There's so many. Like I don't know if I love like male performers themselves or particular acts that they do. I love Jedidor. He's great. When I first sort of found out that boylesque was even a thing, he was my first point of reference to what boylesque was. And I was insanely enamored with him from afar for so long. And then I met him. And yeah, I was probably still enamored with him then too. So I thought he is an amazing performer, and I love that he's done to put boylesque on the map. Tigger as well, coming from like a performing arts background as well, you know, sticking it to the system and creating avant-garde stuff, but also being like the grandfather of boylesque altogether is incredible. We're allowed to say that, aren't we? Am I allowed to say that? He won't hate me for that, will he? I hope not. But yeah, there's so many boylesque performers now, and there's so many more coming each and every week that it's really insane to kind of keep up with them all. But I think, yeah, my first 2 points of call to boylesque were Jedidor and Tigger, so like I owe them everything because they kind of like led me on this path of this. Maybe next time we should do a makeup tutorial live. Be like, this is what I do to make my face. If you like that idea, give me some hearts. No hearts. Okay. Nobody likes that idea. It's fine. It's fine. Alright, team. Well, if oh, there we go. Lots of hearts. Okay. Yeah, it can be one of your small workshops, Devo. Maybe we can do like the weekly makeup tutorial with Chris. Week 1, eyeliner. Week 2, the cut crease. Week 3, brows. Or I could just make a YouTube tutorial and just link it on the page maybe one day. I'll teach you guys how to do this face. Yes. Oh yeah, so remember Chris's makeup tips? I haven't got my lashes on now because like I said, I ran out of time. I did this face in less than 50 minutes. My whole face in less than 50 minutes. Ladies, when you put your lashes on, please never use the full length of the lash, alright? This is a Chris O plead. Cut your lashes 2/3 of the way. Take that end and stick it on the edge of the eye, and then take the rest of the 2/3 and place it from the back corner across to the front. Leave the inside corner open. This way, you get the wispy outside lash that makes your eye look more sultry, lifted, and it also doesn't cast that awful shadow that kind of covers the eyes. And also, depending on how much space you have between your eyebrow and your eyelashes, it doesn't cover all the makeup that you put on your eyelid. Tip number 1 from Chris, eyelashes. Tip number 2, or tip number 1 originally, was do not pat your face down when you're sweating. Get a blow dryer or something and just let it dry naturally. Remember, when the skin starts to sweat, the oils start to come through and lift the makeup, and if you press something onto it, it'll lift, so don't. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. So maybe I say goodbye. If anybody has anything more you'd like to say, giving you now 2 more minutes, and then I'll make my departure so that I do not hog your evening so much. Oh, thank you, Undine. It has been my absolute pleasure talking to you guys. I wish it was more interactive in a way than just maybe little messages on a screen. But yeah, it's been nice talking, even if it's just been all about myself. It's like free therapy, yay! Thank you, everyone. So, like I said, I'll keep you posted with any other makeup-y stuff. I'll talk to Diva and we'll see if maybe we want to do a live thing again, or if maybe I just make a tutorial and link it in for you guys. It'll be fun. Your thumb ring. Yeah. So, YouTube channel. If you look up Chris Official or Chris O, I think it's still Chris O on YouTube, or it's Chris Allwage, my real name. I have a whole lot of links of past burlesque classes that I've taught, some of my acts that are currently going, and some old acts and stuff. Please view it with a pinch of salt. This is like going way back when, to like before even dance school kind of stuff up there, so be kind. Oh, for the glutes, I have tracks on my YouTube channel that you can follow along to. Some group fitness class type stuff that I have for lunges, squats. I think I even do like a 9-minute stretching routine that you can follow along to. So go to my YouTube channel. Just look up Chris Allwage or Chris O, and you should hopefully come along across it. Hi, Gabriella. And yep, if you aren't following me already on Instagram, look up Chris Official, and I'll keep you updated with all my travels, workshops, and photos that are happening across Europe. And finally, I think that's me. I think I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna take up any more of your evening. Thank you so much for having me. It has been an absolute pleasure talking with you all, and thank you for all the questions. And like I said, I share the love, guys. If you ever have any questions that you'd like to ask me because you feel like I might be able to help you specifically, like, message me. I'm a cool guy. I don't bite. And like I said, I really like to just share the love and be happy humans sharing the journey together. So let's be happy humans together. I love you all, and this is me signing out, saying ciao for now. And hopefully I'll get to meet you all at some point, at some show somewhere across the continent. And yeah. Ciao, everyone. Goodbye. Bye. Bye. No, you turn it off. No, you turn it off. No, you turn it off. Okay.